We'll talk about some of the garden variety scams that are used to leverage IP or perceptions that there's IP and how you can recognize those and avoid those. So I'll go through some specific types, the IP registration scam, the Chinese domain name scam, which some of you may have encountered in email recently, phony IP transaction scam, and the invention management company scam. So we'll start with the IP registration scam. When we have a patent application that's published in a database or issued and is part of the publicly available patent literature, there are all manner of trolls that look to see who's doing what the technology is, and who might be vulnerable. Now they know that GlaxoSmithKline may not be vulnerable, but a solo inventor who's feeling sanguine that the universe is open and they've become a recognized inventor just might be easy pickings. So once that database troller finds that publication, something like this may appear in the mail. Looks official. If we compare the patent, the seal, the barcode, things look pretty consistent, and certainly World Patent and Trademark Index sounds like a legit thing. We've got this in euros. We've had an instance where a client got one of these, sent a check, misprocessed it, sent it to accounts payable. A check went to the Czech Republic, appropriately enough. The scammer in the Czech Republic came back and said, "We don't accept checks on US banks, send euros." Our client calls up and said, how do we deal with the International Bureau, which is the legitimate agency? And I said, send me the document that you got, and this was that document. So I said, send no more money. Don't send euros, dollars, don't send anything. And you'd be surprised how often we see these. So take-home lesson is that the scammers are out there, they're trolling these databases, and when you've got IP rights that are published in databases, they'll be on you like lemmings if they perceive that there's any lack of sophistication or knowledge. As I've said, they use very official sounding names to build that reputation and leverage the official agencies. Chinese domain name scam is something that's of recent vintage, and this is one that we had received on January 10. Now you all are here at a rebranding celebration. Our former name was Intellectual Property Technology Law, or IPTL. So I get this email, "Dear CEO, we're in Asia, we're a registrar. We've got somebody who's come in, GICO, that's applying for IPTL registration in Asia." Hoping to elicit the thought, well, don't you care about the Asian market? Don't you want a domain name registration? This is very pervasive. The phony IP transaction scam is a typical inside job type of transaction. You've got a corporate employee who has very broad responsibilities. They set up a dummy company and then they start structuring, because they've got the authority to do so, payments of royalties to that company, or perhaps the setup is that that company has licensable technology that the real company is going to buy that's authorized by the inside scammer. And then the payments go into that dummy company, which is really the bank account of the inside employee. So I've seen this. I was in a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, appropriately enough, in-house a number of years ago, and saw that. The invention management company scam is something that is very pervasive in North Carolina, every other state in the country, and what it is a company that offers to promote, manage, license, commercialize your invention. And the typical come on is that these companies will be attending trade shows. They've got booths. They're going to see all the decision makers there. And if you only pony up $800 or $1,200, then they can do a marketing survey, position your product or concept at that show, and riches will follow. So there's all sorts of exaggerated claims, guarantees, showcasing your invention, that sort of lingo. And the result is that we usually see people who call up and say, I've gone through stage one, I got this fat marketing report, which looks pretty generic, but now they're asking for $15,000. You know. So we'll talk a little bit about avoiding these scams. The IP registration scams, if you look at the fine print, if we went back to that phony invoice and read through it, it would say, we're not affiliated with any official organization. We're a private database. And so you read the fine print and it's obvious that it's just bogus. Advice, send it to your IP attorney if there's any doubt. If it looks like it's possibly legitimate, why take the risk? Don't send money to the Czech Republic. Chinese domain name scam, there are a lot of registrars out there through Internet or GoDaddy or any number of others that you're familiar with. Deal with them. Don't deal with someone who's in Shenzhen. The solution is not to disperse broad responsibility that can kill your company. Don't give someone that autonomy where they're able to set up a transaction on one end, approve it on the other end, and funnel corporate funds right into that side pocket. Internal and external audits, make sure that those are sufficiently numerous, frequent, in-depth to catch these kind of transactions. Invention management companies, I have sent the North Carolina Attorney General's office so many letters, including flyers, promotional material, brochures of these type companies. Best advice is walk away, but if there's any doubt, if there's a feeling that, well, maybe it's a legitimate licensing operation or perhaps they can take me to the decision makers in my industry, be suspicious, do due diligence. Ask the questions. How many people have you helped? What percentage is that of the total people who have contacted you? How much have they made? What's your biggest success? Can we talk to those people? Don't pay. Often, that's the first thing. If you pay the introductory price of $600, $800, we'll give you this marketing report. Always insist that if anybody is working for you as a technology broker or a licensing finder for you, for your technology, that it's on a success fee basis. If you are in an arrangement where there's insistence on a per diem or some other out-of-pocket costs, make sure that it's leveraged to the success of that effort. USPTO Solicitor's Office. We deal a lot in funneling complaints to the Solicitor's Office, and I'll typically ask them to build a file at the Federal Trade Commission. This is a recent letter that came back to me in one such scam, and I wrote to the Patent Office and asked them to caucus with the FTC and to build a file. Because, let's face it, if you're one guy, one woman out there who's been scammed or been approached to be scammed, chances are you're not going to mobilize the enforcement powers of the U.S. government. So what you got to do is build a file. You've got to urge the agency that you're dealing with to coordinate with other agencies so that they're talking to each other so that a file on givememonynow.com grows in size and you're able to marshal some enforcement efforts. Chinese domain name scam, if you go to the ICANN website, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Numbers and Names, that you find a complaint form and, again, build a file. So, in conclusion, be vigilant, use common sense, follow your instincts. If you've got a visceral reaction that something is not quite kosher, it probably isn't. File the complaints, as I say, and build the record for enforcement purposes.